Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined with Matt and Grace Grooms, who are also known on social media as the Golden Road, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And it's one of those conversations I've really been looking forward to having. These guys are just doing some incredible work out there in the world with their feet, and we'll get into that. They've walked across America twice, west to east, north to south, and then took a small little trek through the Rocky Mountains once as well, a little about 500 miles. So, guys, thanks for joining me. I know you're in the process of renovating your minibus, so you got a lot on your plate. So I really appreciate you carving out some time to sit down with me and put the sandblasters down and have a conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having
We're
us.
so excited to talk with you.
Absolutely. So before we get started, just kind of introduce yourselves in your own words. Who are Matt and Grace today?
Yeah, so I'm Grace.
I'm Matt.
We travel with our two dogs, Foxy and Nemo. Foxy is a 4-pound teacup Yorkie, and Nemo is a 40-pound Husky mix that we found on our first walk across America in Arizona. So they're kind of like our grounders. And we love going on adventures. We love inspiring people to find love in the little things. We love raising money for nonprofits. We love seeing like just all the good people in the world, and that's kind of just what keeps us going.
Yeah, one of the things we learned on our first walk across the country was just how there's so many good people out there. I think it's really easy for people to think that there's so much negativity and bad, but through two walks across the country and our Colorado Trail experience traveling around in our bus, there's a lot of good people, a lot of really cool things out there. And we try to share that with our audience online.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something I can attest to for sure. It's completely mind blowing to me, the amount of good people there are. Like we live in this such a polarized society, and we're told that we shouldn't like people because they look like this or believe this or, you know, whatever it is, whatever boxes society tries to put us all into. It's like if you just take a minute and have a conversation with someone, you're going to be like, wow, we've got a lot in common.
Yes,
For
yeah,
sure.
we're all just human beings trying to do our best.
Yeah, I love it. So again, so much of what you guys do just really resonates with you. I couldn't tell you for sure how I stumbled upon you on Instagram. I know that's where it was. So I don't know how that happened or when it happened. It was shortly before this last walk took place. But right out of the gate, just everything you guys were doing just really resonated with me. I mean, I love hiking. Um, and I worked for a youth nonprofit organization for a long time, for 30 years, coaching baseball and softball. So what you guys are doing as far as raising money, and it's not just a walk about you guys. You're finding another component to it. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I know the first time you guys walked across, you actually raised money for an organization, Time in the Bottle, which is very near and dear to you, Grace. So, you know,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about, first of all, you get this idea to walk from California to South Carolina. Um, and then, how does the nonprofit, and raising money and raising funds for a nonprofit come into, like, how did that conversation take place when Matt was like, hey, let's walk across America?
Yeah, when the conversation of walking across America first took place was at like
7
7
in
in
the
the
morning.
morning, right before Matt was going to work. So it was more of a what and just kind of a let me think about it. So you went off to work, and then I don't know, like we all do, I went to the internet and I was just looking up walk across America. I was looking it up on YouTube, and first I wasn't finding that much information, so I thought, okay, it'd be cool to share our trip online and share it with people, so if someone else was looking it up they could find it. And then we both have had like a philanthropic background, but separately we had never really done anything together, but we both loved helping people. And so I kind of knew, I was like, I think that going on this walk would really just be so much better for us and for others if we found a nonprofit to help out with. And my mom started the nonprofit Time in a Bottle when my brother had cancer when he was 11. He's all good now. But they clean homes for children battling life-threatening illnesses for free. And so I was like, okay, that's perfect. I know this nonprofit. I know what they do. I've seen firsthand how much it helps people. And it had always been my mom's dream to, spread the word about it. So I thought, what better way to spread the word about it than literally walking across the country? And so Matt came home from work and I told him the idea. I had a whole notepad and it was pretty much game on since then.
Yeah.
So, Matt, did you expect that type of buy-in immediately, or did you think there'd take
Um,
some coaxing?
no, I kind of thought she would be down for it. We both had experience traveling overseas and kind of had that travel bug. And, we've been living in our apartment together for like 3 months. And I was like, hey, we got to find an adventure to go on together. And so I knew when I brought the idea up, it was probably too early in the morning, but I was just so excited
I've
about it.
become much more of a morning person now at that point. Like 7 a.m. might have been 4 a.m. Like that was way too early.
But I mean, I had a pretty good feeling. I wasn't expecting to come home and have her have like a whole notepad filled out and have been researching stuff all day. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have any doubt.
That's so cool. So, was there when you guys started the walk, it was after that first walk where you then decided to, again, not go back into a bricks and sticks house.
Yeah, I
Um,
think we knew like once we first started that walk, and
Yeah.
even just once we started selling all our stuff, like it just felt so good to get rid of our stuff and
yeah,
know, hey, we're just gonna get out there that I don't think there was any, I think we knew we were never going back to that lifestyle.
yeah,
Yeah, and we had talked about like a van or something beforehand, like, hey, that'd be cool to live in a van. And then as we were nearing the end of our first walk, we some friends of ours had a sprinter van and we went in there and it was way too small, especially for me being 6'4", and we were like, okay, we're gonna go a short bus route. And so that's when we kind of dialed it down to a short school bus. But we wanted to keep being able to move as we please and kind of move around and not have a bunch of stuff tying us down.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing how quick you can accumulate stuff. When we
Yeah.
We're there right now. We've been
Yeah.
in an apartment for 2 months and
We're
you
like,
accumulate
what the
things.
heck is
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah, we were Sandy and I were in our house for 20 years when we started selling everything off. And I remember this moment like it was yesterday, where one time she came up the stairs from the basement and I was sitting there on the couch and she just looked at me and she's like, "How did we get so much crap?"
Yeah.
And you just like there's stuff we went through that we thought we'd thrown away years ago. And it's like, oh, we
Yeah.
still have this.
You just like hold on to it because you think, oh, I can just put it in the basement. Who knows? I might need this one day. And it's just not, it's so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to the nonprofit component. The amount of money you guys raised in that first walk for Time in a Bottle was over $100,000.
Almost 100.
Correct? Okay,
It was
almost. Okay,
right
Yeah.
around, yeah.
okay. Because I know
Like
this last one you
like
raised like
97,000 or
okay,
something. We kept kind of pushing our goal and we kept hitting it. So we kept kind of raising the mark as we got towards the end there. But yeah, that was pretty cool, especially towards the end of our walk. I think we raised, 40 or $50,000 in the last month and a half or 2 months of the walk, which was incredible.
Yeah.
And then after we did that, we kind of wanted the nonprofit to be a component of almost everything we do,
Yeah.
So like the Colorado Trail, we helped out with the nonprofit in Colorado when we were in our bus. And it's going to kind of transition the way we do that, but we called it Us in a Bus, so spending at least 30 days in each of the 50 states. And so we'd pick a nonprofit in each of the states. And it's something that there's so many awesome organizations and groups of people
Yeah.
doing things out there that just need a little more exposure.
Or
yeah,
And
take
that's
the
where
really smaller
smaller
nonprofits we liked helping
nonprofits
out.
and we want to use our social media for good, and one of those ways is helping out those groups who just need their name out there a little bit more, people to hear about what they're doing, and then they can get a whole other group of people bought in on what they're doing, which is really cool.
And that's
yeah,
why we're always choosing something kind of different too, because you never know a nonprofit that resonates with us. Like maybe one walk it doesn't resonate with you, but the next walk it does resonate with you. So it's just cool to see a variety and just see how many people are helping out around with all kinds of things. Like you wouldn't even imagine what people are. I mean, that it's so much.
yeah, yeah. And I love the fact that you're focusing on smaller nonprofits who, $100,000. Again, I don't know what the budget is for Time in a Bottle, but I know my old organization, if someone would have raised $100,000 for us, that would have been game changing for us at that time.
So we've
Um,
a little side note with the time in a bottle is they're opening a new location, so they're going to be helping out kids in a whole new state. So that's pretty awesome to
cool,
see
yeah.
that moving past another state, kind of what they were looking for.
That is very cool. And I'm sure those funds that you guys raised probably had a lot to do, with that for
That helps.
sure. So how do you find the organizations? Because this most recent walk, it was Elevate Youth out of Boston, which, again, you guys, it's not like you live in Boston or anything like that. So how do you find them and, you know, what where's that connection come from?
It's really just kind of like, I mean, when we're in us in the bus, we were just kind of just brainstorming like, hey, let's find some nonprofits that look like we align with and then kind of narrow it down. For Elevate Youth, we really want an organization that helped get kids outside and be able to experience the outdoors. And then, being it's on the East Coast, we wanted a group that's on the East Coast. And so we were literally Googling, nonprofits that help kids get outside on the East
Specifically,
Coast.
we specifically on this one wanted to help underserved kids get outdoors. And so that like we
Bigger cities.
Yeah. So we kind of will think about maybe what kind of nonprofit we're interested in helping with that maybe resonates with us. And then we just keep dialing it down and then we find our list and then we interview and figure it out from there.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool for sure. So let's talk a little bit more about the details of the walk. So again, you've kind of, the first one, going from California to South Carolina, then completely changed it up, being on the Colorado Trail, unlike, what that first walk was like. And then this most recent walk, you're on the East Coast Greenway, which is part trail, part walking on the road.
Yeah.
So just kind of talk about the difference of, the three walks, good and bad, whatever you want to touch on. And like, how does the planning go about, um, you know, putting it together in the timeline?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, like the Colorado Trail compared to our walking is way different.
So different.
You've got a backpack on and you're hiking up through the
You can
mountains,
sleep wherever you want.
sleep wherever you want. You're not worrying about that. Um, just a way different experience from the road walking. I mean, the East Coast Greenway was similar to our west to east walk, but way more metropolitan areas, a lot more people contact, whereas California to South Carolina was a lot more rural. You weren't The biggest city we went through was, like Albuquerque, Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Sorry, we keep saying the word walk, so now
Oh.
Nemo's freaking out.
But they're different experiences. Like I think something we want to dial in more going into the future. We love the people interaction, but we also really love the long hikes. But we also kind of think with our dogs, because we do have two dogs, we don't want to leave them with our parents for an extended amount of time. That's why the road walking
Yeah.
works out so well. We can put Foxy on top of a push cart. We know Nemo can walk with us the whole way.
Yeah, they're just like it's so hard to kind of try to dive down the path of how they're so different because they are so different. And we'll always say, like, we might walk across America and then say you walk across America. It's gonna be two totally different experiences, no matter who's doing it. And I think the biggest difference, though, from our first walk to this last walk, like you said, was the people involvement. Like, there was just so many more people, so many more opportunities for places to stay, stuff like that, which also helped with grocery stores. I mean, our first walk was also not only did we go through a lot more areas where there weren't very many people or stores or anything, it was also during the pandemic. So a lot more people were less likely to, invite us into their home or stuff was shut down. We're walking near reservations that are shut down. So it was just like such a stark contrast, really.
Yeah, and I mean, then you talk into cost wise of the different costs. West to east was way less expensive because we were able to camp where we wanted. You don't have a lot of like on this last walk, we were really enjoying ourselves because you'd walk through. There's 450 cities and towns throughout the whole route, so we're trying to find places to eat, and then you can't really sleep in your tent a lot, so you're buying more hotels. So they're just completely different.
Yeah, I will say one of the pros to this last walk that we did down the East Coast Greenway was that the East Coast Greenway is an organization that's working on making the path a 3,000-mile paved bike path. Right now, it's about 1,000 is paved, and the rest of it, even though we were walking on the road, they've already figured out for the most part, the best roads for you to walk on. So that took away a lot of that stress, just knowing like, hey, this is already planned out. Whereas our first walk, we just had Google Maps and we're like, let's go to this city. And sometimes that did not work out well for us. But, you know, again, it was another part of the adventure, but it was nice.
I think most of the planning for us really comes down to how are we going to raise money for the nonprofit. You know, we've really learned like dialing in our website and just the way we connect people with when they find us on social media, to then finding how to get to the nonprofit and all the information about us. As far as like planning out where are you going to stop every day and what yada yada yada, we learned really quick on our first walk to just kind of go a week at a time or go big city to big city.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you start trying to plan all your stops, it's not going to work out for you within 2 or 3 days. Something, weather's going to happen, something's going to happen to your car, someone's going to offer you a cool spot to stay, and so you don't want to. So I think kind of the week to week basis is, once you're on the adventure, is the best way to go, and then you're not stressing about what's going to happen 4 months from now. Where are we going to be?
It's like you want to have sort of degree of expectations, but you don't want to have too many because, as you know, life on the road is always changing. So it's best to just go with the flow.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because, like you said, I mean, you could that I could see the stress involved in saying, okay, we're going to leave on this date and we're going to get to our destination on this date, because then, like, something happens to the cart, weather, whatever the case is. Now you're like, wait, we got to walk through pouring rain today. We're not going to make it, by our goal.
It's not fun. And, you know, you're going on a trip. Like, yes, we've now walked across twice, but like our first time we didn't know we were going to walk again. Like, so every time you do these adventures, it could be the last time you do it. So you better soak in every single moment. And so if you're putting those restraints on yourself, you're going to strip away some of just the being present and enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the key to this type of lifestyle, whether it's living in the RV, the bus, walking across America, is being in the moment and being present and appreciating that. So if you set
any lifestyle.
Very true, very true, which we need to remember more.
Yes, yeah.
So thanks for throwing that in, because way too many people get caught up in the everyday craziness and not enjoying that moment. And I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit.
Oh, I said it's easy to get caught up in that. So it's just you have to constantly remind yourself.
Yeah, and even for what we do, I mean, our greatest adventures, for Sandy and I, have been the ones that have been unplanned. I remember specifically a time in West Virginia where we got off the interstate and took this, windy road through a bunch of switchbacks and came across a state park that we didn't even know existed, and got out and just looked at this beautiful gorge below us, and eagles flying, and another time outside Ohio, just catching a sunset along Lake Erie, again, totally unplanned. And, I think when you allow yourself that flexibility, it's what makes it all worthwhile, for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, um, so the Colorado walk specifically, obviously you guys are on a trail. Like I said, good part is you can sleep anywhere. There's certainly no goal to get to the next city or anything like that. But, we were in Colorado this past summer on a book tour, and Sandy had a heck of a time adjusting to the elevation, as did our dog Uke for a little while. What did you guys do leading up to the walk to accommodate for the higher elevation? Anything, or you just dealt with it?
Well, our worst thing that we did, well, okay,
we spent some time in Colorado beforehand.
Yeah, we were in Colorado for about like a month just living in our bus before, so that helps for sure.
Yeah.
But I would say, I don't know if it's good or bad. Our worst thing is we don't necessarily, like, we hadn't, like, literally the first time we'd really thrown on our backpacks full of stuff was the day we started our hike, like, right? We didn't go on any previous hikes.
No.
And so we just kind of go. But I will say, when it comes to elevation, you do have to be very careful with the elevation because it can make you very sick. I think us being there for a month helped. We also ran a marathon and a half marathon before too.
Yeah, so we were kind of training running wise and stuff like that. Nothing like throwing on your pack and practicing that way. I think with walking and hiking, I mean, again, factor in the elevation, but like for us on our long distance walks too, we didn't really practice, but you just got to know it's going to take you a week or two to really, even the Colorado Trail, which was only we spent 40 days doing it. It still takes you 2 weeks to get really adjusted to where you feel really good out on the mountain or out on
Yeah.
the road. And then after you do that for 2 weeks or so, you're kind of just in the flow and can kind of keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah. So about how many miles a day were you doing on the Colorado Trail? Because I know on this last walk you were pretty close, like 20 miles a day, but I'm sure again with the elevation and just the elevation changes, it's a considerably different type of walk.
Yeah, and like Matt got sick for a while, so that but we still did pretty good. I would say we probably did about 15 miles
15
per
to 20,
day.
15 to 20. We had some longer ones in there towards like we had some 25, 26 mile days,
Yeah.
but I would say on the walks and hiking, right in between 15 and 20 miles is, 6 to 8 hours of your day just walking, and then that gives you time for everything else.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes like the hiking the mountains is hard, but also there's something about like, okay, you just got to get to the top and you're going to have a beautiful view and then you get to go down for a little bit. Like sometimes that can make it easier. Matt gets into some sort of weird mountain goat like phase. I don't even
I
know.
like
I
ri-
basically just say go,
I
just
like
get out of
riding that
here.
line of enjoying myself, but also feel like I'm pushing myself right to that certain line. I don't know what it is, but I just get going,
And then
and then
I had Nemo tied around my waist, helping me pull towards mine.
yeah, but I got sick, and I don't know if it was water or what it was, but for 5 or 6 of the days I was barely able to eat anything.
It was really bad.
And so I'd walk for like 3 miles and have to lay on the ground. And we were taking naps during the day and stuff, and it was brutal. But so I mean, and then at the beginning of that trip, I had hurt like my IT band or something. I thought I wasn't going to be able to keep going. And so she was carrying a lot of the weight and stuff for us. So
Yeah, that first night we were preparing because we had chosen a nonprofit to raise funds for Luvin Arms, and so we were like, okay, I knew that one of us needed to finish this hike because we now have this bigger purpose than just us doing the hike. And so we were trying to figure out how I was going to do it just with Nemo and just keep going. And I knew I would have been okay, but I had not, that was not in my mind at all that I was doing it alone. Like we hadn't practiced what to do with our bear bags. Like it was literally our first night out on the trail ever. Like we had never done anything like that, besides our walks, but so different when it comes to just being in the mountains. And so we were sitting in a spot. Matt was able to finish. We did like 6 miles that day, I think.
yeah, not very many.
And we got to a spot. We tried to find a spot alone because we'd been crying. So we wanted to be by ourselves, but we couldn't find a spot alone. So there was like this little dividend down, or like, I don't know what you would call it, like a little ditch type area here. And then someone else was up here. And we were just sitting there, like kind of whispering because he was in his tent. So we thought he was sleeping. And then this guy, his trail name was Hugs, came out with his dog, and his dog ended up being friends with Nemo. And they got talking, and he had stuff on his knee. And so Matt was like, hold up, here's what's going on. And Hugs saved the day. He was our trail angel. He told us about dual action Advil, which is now our all-time
Dual
favorite
action Advil and
medication.
KT tape.
Yeah,
Always carry that with you.
and he finished the hike. So we thank Hugs for that a
Yeah. Oh
lot.
yeah.
Wow. Do you still have contact with him at all?
Yep.
We need to
Yeah.
call him actually.
Yeah. We've been trying to plan a FaceTime for a while.
That's
But
so cool.
yeah.
Yeah. And that again, that's one of those things with, this type of lifestyle is those people that you meet along the way. And, all of a sudden you feel this connection with them. We'd actually spent a month in Galveston last month, and we had we met, this couple from Illinois, and it was like one of those things where just immediately you feel that connection. And our niece actually flew down from Staten Island, spent a week with us in the campground, and we had dinner with Jason and Sarah. And our niece, like there was such a connection. Our niece thought that we'd known these people for years. We're like, no, we only met them last week.
That's so cool.
And
Yeah.
it's so cool when you get that. And then there's other people who you may just have this chance encounter and you never see them again, but yet they still make such an incredible impact on your life as well. I'm sure there have been, but is there a specific story you'd like to tell about one of those once in a lifetime chance meetings?
We were camping in Texas. I can't remember where we were camping at, but we were at a campground we were either making our way towards Big Bend or coming back. I'm not sure. And we were just at the campground walking around, and we ran into this one guy who was camping there, and we had one conversation with him. But we were
I
talking
feel
about,
like his name was like Adventure Steve or something.
okay. So we had a conversation with him, and he said I don't remember exactly what the conversation going, but he said one thing. He said, you always have to leave a little extra meat on the bone. And that has just been a sentence that has helped us out so much. Like anytime we want to do a little extra something, we just say, you always got to leave a little extra meat on the bone. Like we always have little certain sentences like that people will say, and you never see them again, but those sentences just strike a chord, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So you guys right now are in the midst of renovating Timmy 2.
Yes.
Um, what has that experience been like? I mean, again, we're in a, an RV, so we did one small renovation where we took our dinette out and took our bunks out and stuff, but that was a couple days. You guys are really digging into this thing. So, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always every day is a learning experience. And then for me personally, doing stuff like the bus build where you don't always see a lot of progress is something I'm always working on, which is a good thing, but there are some challenging days with it. Our first time doing the bus renovation, we felt really rushed to get it done for a couple of reasons. One, our parents are great, but we were living at our parents' houses and stuff for extended amounts of time. And then two, we had some misconception in our head. Our social media had blew up. So we were really trying to keep it going. We were trying to just like get the bus done and get back to traveling, which was not the right way to go. You learn from it, but it wasn't the right way to go. This time has been a lot more smooth. I mean, just one, being able to have the warehouse where it's separated from us. So we have that degree of separation from our normal lives here, and then going to the warehouse and working on the bus. And then we had a lot of help along the way. But it's also been really nice with just Grace and I working on it. Sometimes when you get too much involvement going on in a project, it just kind of takes away from it. So I'd say it's going well. There's still stressful points with it.
I think it's been fun because we are taking more time to kind of slow down. Like we just know that it's going to be so much better overall. Plus, it should not discredit our first build. Like we had never done anything like that. Even though we still don't really know what we're doing, we learned a lot from that first build, and we lived in it for a while. So like we know what we're looking for. We know what didn't work. And so it's been fun to kind of go into this bus build with a totally different lens and just have an idea of kind of what we're doing. I don't know. It's been really fun, actually.
We've had a good time.
Yeah. But we're excited but a little nervous moving into the inside the bus.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll work out all just the way it's supposed to, for sure.
It does.
So we connected in person when you guys were in Sebastian Inlet. I was, like I said, I was following you guys on the walk. We domicile in Melbourne. My aunt's got a house there. We have full hookups, and we were actually on our way over to my cousin's house on the West Coast. And when I saw where you guys were going and projecting to be that night, again, the stars aligned. My book signing actually wrapped up early, and I said to Sandy, I said, I think Matt and Grace, if we time this right, we'll probably get to Sebastian Inlet, you know, shortly after they do, or whatever the case is. I mean, it seemed like we got there like right after you guys did when we pulled in. Um, but and I know as we were leaving, another couple stopped by to see you guys, and what does that mean to you? That personal interaction of just people stopping by. I'm sure there's probably some times where it's like, oh man, we'd like to get this done. But if that was the case with us, you certainly disguised it well. But what's it like just to have that interaction?
It was something that we had to learn a little bit, because on our first walk, we weren't our numbers on social media and stuff skyrocketed all out of the blue, and so that really changed everything for us. It was kind of just like we were posting and just kind of going about our day, and now all of a sudden you've got people honking their cars and yelling the Golden Road out of their truck the next day, and you're like, oh,
it's
okay,
like, what's happening?
And it was really cool. But at that time it was really hard to manage, because we had stuff going on with Nemo, because Nemo was possibly going back to who the original owner was, which was a whole ordeal. So we had that going on with just walking across the country trying to find places to sleep, all that. And some days it was just hard, man, because you'd be pushing 20-25 miles and you have 20 people stopping, and you're worried about the dogs, so you're trying to find a place to camp. And by the time we got done, we were like burnt out. We were burnt out completely. We're like, that was just too much. But it was all good things, like it wasn't necessarily bad. So going into this last walk, we were like, hey, one of the biggest things we have to do is just like be very present with everyone who stops no matter what, because we do know that is kind of our purpose too, is shining our light and bringing that to other people. And it is really cool for us too, because it's one thing to have the connection with someone online, but to be
Yeah.
able to actually, meet you in person, meet someone in person, they say, oh, I've been following you. That's a way different experience than just seeing someone's name pop up that you're responding to
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
phone.
we,
So
we always say like, we are building this community, and the community is one thing, to be on your phone and saying the messages, like we're so thankful for the people we haven't met too, but like Matt's
yeah,
saying, to be able to really meet people and see and like talk to people who are like, hey, I liked what you did here, or like it inspired me to do this, or here's how we connect, or different things like that. Like it really is so powerful, and it makes social media just feel like it has more meaning, and it's just really cool. And I think, like Matt was saying, the first walk we got a little overwhelmed because we had literally never experienced anything like that in our lives. But before this walk, being able to put ourselves in that mindset, like it was awesome. Like I never really, I mean, there was one time like when my grandma passed away and my mom had called me, and we're just outside a grocery store, so people are just coming up and saying hi if they see us or stuff. Like that was kind of hard, just because I felt like I couldn't really, sometimes when you want to experience certain emotions, I felt like I had to kind of push those down because I wanted to be present for who I was meeting. So times like that when it was hard, but overall, I feel
yeah,
like it really does mean so much to us. Like it's
yeah,
definitely a mutual
yeah,
experience every
yeah.
single time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. And I know, like I said, I had first started following you, and then, I might have been watching a reel or something, and Sandy would overhear it, and she's like, what's going on here? And then, it was cool then when she kind of jumped on board too.
Yeah.
And like I might have been driving today, and she's like, hey, did you see this post from Matt and Grace? I'm like, no, I haven't even been on my phone yet. Yeah, so kind of sharing that was cool. So it was a really cool experience for us. And I told you guys before we started recording, I mean, that location is very special.
Mhm.
Um, my mom's ashes are off the shore there. And it was weird that you guys were actually in the exact same campsite that we were in a couple years ago. And
Yeah.
even that was one of those chance encounters. Like that night, we weren't planning on staying in Sebastian Inlet. Like we just wanted to stop there, walk around, take the dog over the beach, that sort of stuff. And, we were planning on just staying in a Cracker Barrel that night down the road somewhere. We were actually on our way to Key West that time. And, we're walking around. We're like, wow, this is a nice campsite. We don't really have plans on to, campground. Don't really have plans on where to stay. Let's go see if, we're, if there's anything available. And I might have told you this when we got together, but we walked into the ranger's office. We're like, hey, any, any sites available for tonight? And they're like, no, we're all booked up. All right, no big deal. And, we go to walk out, and my hand is literally on the knob of the office. The ranger gets a phone call, and when he hangs up, he's like, "You still looking for a site tonight?" He goes, "I just had one open up for 2 nights." We're like, "We only need it for one, but we'll take it." And it was that site that you
Wow.
guys happened to be in, and it was just so cool. We saw the sunrise the next morning on the beach, which was another cool experience for us because that's one of the things my mom did for me as a kid. I hated it then, when I was 11, 12 years old. I hated her waking me up in the dark and dragging me to the beach because I lived in Melbourne for 4 years after my mom and dad had gotten divorced. So again, there's a lot of special things. So to be able to connect with you guys there was pretty cool. And yeah, very, cool experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed Sebastian Inlet as much as, the memories that I have there. And I know you guys were talking about, you know, getting that great site and having to deal with the no-see-ums, but other than that, man, it's a pretty cool
But
spot.
Yeah,
yeah,
no, it was
if you
great.
could take away the no-see-ums, it would amplify it that much more,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
a good experience.
No, no doubt about it. And then, as we were leaving, like I said, another couple was coming up to you, and we actually felt bad if we left because I think they'd given you a couple bottles of water or something, and Sandy and I were like, "Man, we didn't even give them water. Like we didn't give
Oh
like
no,
it was
it's
just like one of
okay.
those things where it just kind of escaped us." Um, but when people come up to you and they're giving you stuff, like that, some water and some food, and I know Grace, you've got some allergies you got to deal with, so you're kind of like, "Hey, these are things even though we appreciate it, I can't have this, this, and this."
Right.
Again, what's that feeling like though when people are, saying, "Hey, just a couple bottles of water." Like, what does that mean to you?
I mean,
It
so
means a lot.
grateful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially, I mean, a lot of this last walk was in the heat of summer. So I mean,
So
getting
hot and
getting a
humid.
cold water bottle, huge game changer of your mood and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it quickly just if you were in some sort of lull
Energy drinks.
walking, energy drinks. We tend to drink a little too many energy drinks on the
Yeah,
walk, but always a
yeah.
nice surprise. And then this last walk was really cool because a lot of people actually were really good with Grace's allergies and
Yeah.
brought a lot of gluten-free, nut-free foods and
Which
stuff like
that
that.
stuff's hard to find. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Like I was so grateful. I mean, A, that people took the time to even figure out what I could eat and then also go look and be like, I read the ingredient list and stuff like that. That really is so nice. And just to see so many people that truly care about us and like just want us to be safe and want to help. I mean, it really meant a lot. And I think that's a part of the reason that on our walks we always feel so safe is because we know we have so many people looking out for us, and it's just really cool to kind of have that the whole time we're walking. Like we truly never feel alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always say it too, like the walks are not possible with other people. Like we never go into our walks or adventure thinking we're gonna do it by ourselves because it's not true. I mean, we had people helping us on those days you need it, an air conditioned shed, it's
Yeah.
100 degrees outside and someone's got an air conditioned shed for you.
People who literally barely know what we're doing but found out and were gonna let us camp in their backyard all of a sudden are letting us sleep inside their house in their basement. Like it's just so
Yeah.
nice, and we're truly so grateful for it.
Yeah, it is pretty cool to see that, as a third party, where you guys post something like that. Oh, we thought we were going to camp in the backyard and now we're in the house. And it really does go back to what we first started talking about is that if you give people a chance, like you really find out how giving this world can be. And, it's really just what you focus on. And, it's cool that you can kind of have that community of yours rally around you. Cause I know there are times where it's like, okay, we're looking for a spot for tonight because there wasn't a spot to pitch the tent. And every time it seems like somebody steps up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
every single time. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, one of the ones we always think was kind of a crazy one was I'll be on Maine. It was just this tiny town in Maine, and we couldn't get a hold of the
Fire
fire
department.
department, and we just couldn't find anywhere to sleep. And so we were like, let's just post a Facebook post. And we thought, no, I mean, I thought
Small, very
maybe,
small
but small
town.
chance that something's gonna happen. And yeah, all of a sudden we're sleeping in a barn with an alpaca because someone shared it on Facebook and she reached out and we literally just had to walk right down the street and we couldn't
And that was
believe it.
Julie, and now Julie, she's
One
still
of
one
our
of our
friends,
one of
yeah.
our friends online. We always see her name pop up, and it's super cool. You would have we walked right past her house on our way up the hill and
Yeah.
came back down. We would have never known she lived there. Never would have never got to meet her. Never sleep in the barn with the alpacas.
Yeah, or like another one of my favorite stories along those same lines was in Massachusetts. I woke up one morning, we were sleeping in a backyard, and I just had like stomach bug. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden I was throwing up, but I just thought, okay, let's just keep walking, because I have all my food allergies, so sometimes I'll just kind of feel sick and it's no big deal. But we kept walking and that was not the case. I just kept getting sick over and over, and we walked, I don't know how many miles we walked.
13, 14 miles.
We had
Wow.
walked 13, 14 miles, and then it got to the point where I was just like, I cannot go any further. I feel horrible. I'd been throwing up that whole time.
I don't know how you did that.
Yeah.
She was
And
at four-way stops with cars going to work, puking on the ground.
I'm like, once and so then, so we were looking up, what are our options. We knew we needed to get to a hotel, but the closest hotel was another 13 miles away, and I just thought, I cannot do it. So we were trying to look at Uber options, but trying to fit our cart into the Uber with two dogs, like that is not going to work. And so we decided to go to Facebook again. We said, warning, Grace is sick, but we need help. Can anyone get us to a hotel? And within 15 minutes, I wish I could remember his name. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but his wife told him about what was going on, and he came and picked us up, took us to a hotel. Matt got sick the next day, so we stayed there for a couple days, and then he brought us right back to where he picked us up, and just so
Yeah.
kind, total stranger.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's like I said, it's amazing when you focus on the good, what is out there for sure.
Put it out.
Yep. Yep. So is there a fourth walk in the planning right now, or are you just focused on getting the bus back up and running?
There's not one in the planning right
There's
now. We
lots of
definitely
walks.
there's lots of walks we want to do. Right now it's just kind of get our home base, our bus kind of dialed in
Yeah.
so we feel good there.
We really want to do, so the next like very long walk that we want to do is the Great American Rail Trail, which goes from Washington D.C. to the coast of Washington State. The problem with that is it's 3,700 miles, which is fine, except that means you're going to be hitting weather. And we're going to be in more northern states. So we have to think about Foxy's 10 years old. So just what's going to be best for her. We don't want to leave her alone. So we don't know. That walk might be one we kind of put off for a few years, and we might focus on more like doing the Katy Trail or just some short one state walks so we can keep taking Foxy but not wear her down so much. But like we want to do the Triple Crown, like we want to do the Continental Divide
The
trip,
hiking
Civic
is
Crest
hard
Trail.
again because of the dogs. You know what? Nemo would love it. The Colorado Trail was by far Nemo's favorite experience. I mean, she loved walking with us no matter what, but being able to run through the mountains up there and chase little pikas and marmots up in the hill. I mean, she loved it. So I know she'd love to do some more hikes, but you know, with a lot of those longer ones, they don't allow dogs.
Right.
And again, that's awesome to take Nemo, but to leave Foxy, who's already 10 years old, for 6-7 months.
Yeah. So
but
I think we're just gonna.
We got a lot we want to do.
Yeah, we'll find some short, fun ones in between. We're even talking about it'd be fun to walk from. We're currently in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we thought it'd be fun just to like walk from Lincoln, Nebraska to Omaha, Nebraska. It's an hour drive, so I don't really know how many miles that is,
miles,
but
maybe.
Like random stuff like that, we think we'll maybe do to put it in the middle a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost like you guys could do like some flash mob walks, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Like here, to help raise money. Hey, we're going to walk this, 30, 60-mile stretch, make a $10 donation. You guys can walk with us or something like that. Who knows?
I like that
So,
idea.
but yeah, it's so cool, man. Everything you guys are doing, it's so inspiring. I'm glad we had the opportunity to sit down and talk. But before we wrap things up, I mean, is there anything that you guys want to touch on that you think would be important to the listeners?
No, I think just try to always work on yourself and work on being present minded, and try to let go of any of those worries and fears you may have, and instead try to focus on bringing joy to other people, waving at people, saying good morning, saying hello, the little things, opening a door for someone. Those things really go a long way. I think they're really small things, but I think they really add up, especially if we were all to do it every single day.
Yeah, I think it's important. Social media is really cool, and it's a great way to, see adventures or meet people and stuff like that. But also don't forget to kind of put the phone down and connect with people who are right here in front of you, because that's really important too.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do people find you on the internet? If they want to find out more about what you guys are doing, more about the, upcoming walks, all that fun stuff.
Yes, it is the Golden Road with 2 G's. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We dabble in.
We have a website with all of our past adventure information stuff on there. That's the Golden Road with 2Gs.com. I think that's about it.
Yep.
And we always say our stories is kind of our bread and butter. Our Instagram stories, we're always there. So if you want to see what's going on, we find ourselves to be entertaining and funny. Some others do too. That's a good spot to go to as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's always fun watching your stories for sure. Um, so you guys kind of already answered my final question, but I'll give you an opportunity to kind of box it up into one nice little package. As you know, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, which, really kind of resonates with everything that you guys are doing, but it's inspired by the opening lyrics of a Michael Franti song, Gloria, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. So I'll let you guys answer it individually. You guys can pick who wants to go first, but what is one of the little things that you guys do on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
Well, one of our little mission statements is to find love in the little things. And I think when you're living every single day, find love in those small things, it's going to make you a happier person inside because you're appreciating and having gratitude with the things in your life. And in return, I think that just makes you shine a little brighter, which then makes you have more connections with people. That's kind of what helps me get through every day with a little more joy.
And mine's kind of what I just said, just a hello, a good morning, a wave goes a really long way, not only for the other person, but also that's the only way to possibly open up the door and to break through a wall to meet another person and to have a different experience. So I would recommend that to anyone. If you don't do it, if you're scared to wave or to say hello, just start doing it every day. Make it a habit.
Yeah. And if you have a problem with it, get a dog because a dog will
Yes.
always break down those
There you go.
barriers.
There
Yes,
you go.
that's so true. I
Yeah.
always say that. Yeah. Dogs help you. They do.
When we're walking Uke around, he'll come up to people and they're standing there and he just walks up and I'm like, I'm sorry, he doesn't understand personal space or anything like that. They're like, no, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
We love dogs. So yeah, if you have trouble with it, get a four-legged friend and they'll break you of it real quick for sure.
Yes.
So, and I loved having this conversation with you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a lot on your plate with the reno, so to carve out, about an hour here to sit down and have a chat means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. For those out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at journeymymotherson.com. While you're there, pick up a copy of one of my books. Matt and Grace, again, I really appreciate this. This is a great conversation.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
You bet.